into the Sound of Accra podcast. I've got my twin, not my twin, but he's called Adrian as well. So this is a rocky Adrian, first Adrian kind of show. So we got not Adrian Daniels, but Adrian Benjamin. How about that? Adrian Benjamin.
I've never heard anyone say my name that much in my entire life, but cool.
I love it. Adrian Benjamin. I've never heard of a surname called Benjamin, but I love it. You know what I mean? I love it. Yeah. You never guess in a million years this brother is from West Africa too. Adrian Benjamin.
What is that?
Yeah. He's even got an Africa in the background if you guys are watching on YouTube right now, on LinkedIn. Adrian has worked. So who is Adrian? Not me, but Adrian Benjamin, Adrian B. Adrian has worked for UBS Investment Bank since the age of 22. In New York, actually, it's 22 that you went to do the internship, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2021. I was working in Worcester on placement, okay. And then when I graduated, I got the internship with Mountbatten to do investment banking in New York.
Yeah. Perfect. So we're going to talk about that. So then you graduated from Birmingham City University. I checked out the podcast you did with the with the other guy. He was pretty good. Mm-hmm. That was a really insightful podcast. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot from that. Definitely,
cool. That's good.
Definitely learned from the journey. Definitely learned about the journey that you took. I have to listen to the property one, but I will listen to the progressive one soon. But yeah, guys, Adrian's he's been in the game for a while when it comes to finance and banking. He's been a financial consultant. He's worked at Visa, HSBC, right? Is it HSBC you worked?
HSBC, yeah.
RBS, Bloomberg, Deloitte, top auditing firm, I believe. So yeah, Adrian's done it all.
You missed out a couple.
Who have I missed out?
I'm joking. It's a long list.
Some wealth management companies. So I mean, you've worked at a long list of companies, right?
Bloomberg and Deloitte.
Bloomberg and Deloitte. I just mentioned Bloomberg and Deloitte.
You know what? I've pretty much worked for everyone, to be honest with you. So everyone's had me.
That's okay, yeah. So yeah, Adrian, as part of, aside from being a financial consultant in his recent past, previous roles have also included, implementation, relationship management, and sales, which is what I love, which is what I've been in the past. Banking, consulting, fintech, you name it all. Adrian's done it in banking and finance world. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about, his transition into getting into insurance, other finance products out there, property. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about his journey, moving from Manchester to London, his crazy creative ways of getting out of his own way and getting a job when the employer just won't hire you. So Adrian, welcome to the Sound of Accra podcast. I think you're the first guest I have who's not necessarily Ghanaian, doesn't necessarily have an interest in Ghana, but you still qualify for the show.
That's technically not true, but that's not, we'll get to that later.
Okay. We'll get to that towards the end. Okay. You've proved me wrong, and I'm sure you're going to prove me wrong later on. But yeah, Adrian and Benjamin, look, that's an impressive resume. Those top companies working a whole bunch of roles. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling, man?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Perfect. Okay, let's just kick this show off. Apart from your career, tell us a fact about yourself that we don't know, and tell us a hobby.
Oh, okay. Hobby easy. I'm a big basketball fan. So I used to play a lot in Manchester for Manchester Magic. So I
Manchester Magic. Is that a basketball team? No kidding. Yeah. Wow.
We had John Amici was one of the first British-born NBA players.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was like late 90s, yeah. And then he set up his own academy in Wally Range in Manchester.
Wow, that's incredible. You just learn something every day.
So we have three full-size courts at Wally Range High School. I think we got another one as well, for the England Academy as well.
Ah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's two birds, one stone, right? That's a hobby and a fact.
Hobby and a fact. Yeah. But is that a fact that's a general fact, but is that a fact about you?
I'm trying to think. Interesting. I can't think off the top of my head.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, you
But
can bring it up
we'll
during the
probably
show.
we'll come back to
We
that.
can come back to that. There's no kind of
Yeah,
structure here. We just go with the flow here at the Sound of a Cross. So, yeah,
cool.
thanks for sharing. I mean, that's quite interesting. I mean, I know you're a Man United fan. I know you're into football. And I do remember you are into basketball, but I just didn't know about
Yeah,
all of that. Like Manchester had their own team and everything, and impressive, pretty impressive.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go straight into it, Adrian, right? So
Mhm.
let's talk about this prestigious Mountbatten internship scheme.
Yeah.
Could you break it down for the audience?
Yeah, so I think there's a grad fair in Birmingham, the NEC. There's grad fairs across the whole UK. And I
Hmm.
just finished my placement year working for Bosch in Worcester, in
Yeah.
the HR department. So I'm walking around the grad fair, like there's like 20,000 grads, and every store kind of looks the same. And then some lady says to me as I walk past, I was like, "Oh, do you want to work in New York?" And I turn around, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
well, who wouldn't? What's a stupid question? And it's actually Joe Harvey. I was like, what have I got to do to do this? And she's like, you've got to
Yeah.
have a year in industry. I was like, I've already done that. You've got to
Hmm.
graduate and you've got to be a really top performer. And you've got to go through all the
Mm.
application stages, kind of like a mini apprentice kind of thing. I'm like, cool. I was like, cool, whatever. Didn't really think about it. Applied, emailed. I think you've got to
Yeah.
do a long cover letter. You've got to come to London to the interview face to face. So now I had to stay with my aunt in Watford like the day before that, prep.
Mm.
And then there's a very long waiting process. Now there's two intakes, normally one in September and one in
Yeah.
March. And
Okay.
what makes Mountbatten so unique is I think every year there's about 200 interns. I did it in 2009, so it's quite a while
Wow.
ago.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
get graduates from all over the world. So we'll have interns from Germany, Nigeria, India, China, all over. So
Mm.
think about The Apprentice, but on a bigger, madder scale. Right? It's crazy. And then you get there and
Wow.
you have to share a room
Yeah.
with someone that you don't know as well, because
That's
it's
insane.
American style. So my
So it's
bed
all
is
paid
here.
for. Is it
No,
like a
you have to pay for
scholarship?
yourself. I think they do
You have to,
scholarships, but you have to pay for it.
okay.
So
So
like your
so
accommodation.
okay, so wait a minute. So what do you have to pay for in regards to the Mountbatten program? Is it the accommodation or is it the education, the job? What do you actually
Good
have to pay for?
Good question. So we actually get a tier one visa. So that means we're allowed to
Hmm.
stay in the States for a year. And you also
Okay.
study towards your master's. So
Okay.
while you're over there working full time, probably 8 till 6, 8 till 7, you still have to study, go to class once a week. So I've got a third of a master's, which I could finish if I want to.
Hmm.
And then obviously you live in the States as well. So there's a lot of things to juggle and it's quite a lot. So like I
Mm.
said, I was one of the younger ones because I'd already had a year experience. But some
Yeah.
people that are 26, 27, 28, or they're accountants, they've been working for a
Wow.
while. It's not necessarily that intake. I think I was one of the maybe 7 or 8th youngest on the whole
Okay.
thing.
So there's not necessarily an age limit, is there?
I wouldn't say per se. No, I think we had people in their 30s when I was doing it.
Okay.
But obviously,
Wow.
maturity wise, 22 and 30 is a big difference. So they didn't really hang around with us, the 23 and the 22 and 23-year-olds. But it might have changed now. The beauty of that is the last financial
Yeah.
crash was 2008. So when I was about to graduate, I spoke to my director and I said, I'm not really sure what I should do. I was like, I really want to go into
Mm.
Mountbatten scheme. And she was like,
Hmm.
it's a recession. Don't go there, do it. I'm like, you know
Mm.
me, a little bit because we spoke before. I'm gonna do it anyway. So I'm gonna do it
Yeah.
anyway.
Just go for it. Just go
So
for it. Yeah.
getting that job in the 2009, September 2009, when the recession was bad, and like they're laying people off left, right, and center. Right, you go in and there'll be whole areas just wiped out, and every other day people are getting made redundant. So it's a weird experience because that's kind of like my second year in major work, but that's just something that is now commonplace now. And the fact that they have so much faith in Mountbatten, and Mountbatten obviously recruit very well, that even though all this
Hmm.
stuff is going on, they know they've got good quality people to do the job.
Okay.
And obviously, you've got to learn a completely different culture. America on holiday and living there are two completely different things. Um,
Like any other
Amer-
country.
yeah, America, every single word is it's like a completely different language. You could say one thing in England and it means a completely different
Good different thing.
over there.
Yeah, that's
So,
crazy.
example, I'm making notes in my book and I have a pencil. So I just go, hey, Will, can I borrow your rubber? Like, let me. And he's like, oh my God. I was like, I said, you can't ask another man for that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, rubber. He's like, no, we don't call that over here. I was like, what do you call it? Call an
Eraser.
eraser. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
right. Little things like that get you, you know. So,
They're thinking it's something else, you know,
yeah,
completely different.
like they call
Yeah,
pants trousers, like to us, like,
I know,
oh,
it's so annoying. Like they're just completely different. It's so annoying. Like,
yeah.
you know,
But I
how come
think
just
it's
become
such a great experience, and I'm a massive fan of Mountbatten. I felt it really helped me in my career, just from a confidence standpoint and standing out and
mm,
being different. So we'll probably get to stuff later about networking is so important. Just me speaking to Joe randomly, having a mini
mm,
conversation, going for it, because it is very, very competitive, not just with regards to like paying for it, but just that experience is going to
yeah,
top anything you can get in the UK, because it's a brand new environment. You don't know anyone, and New York is a hard city. It's a very
yeah,
fast
tough
pace.
city, man.
They will
Yeah,
take, they will say stuff to your face. I think from British people's point of view, I think they say New Yorkers are rude. They're just very honest and to the
it's a
point, and
step
I
up
like
from
that.
London.
Yeah, I like that. There's no time to wait. They're like, I've got to make money. I've got to
Yeah,
do this. I got that. They do not have
yeah,
time for that. It's sink or swim. So when I
true.
started working there, you have to pick it up. No one's going to baby you. So
I
having
like
that
that.
experience at 22, coming back to
Hmm.
the UK, it's like I have a whole different mindset
I
completely. And
know.
I've kept, I feel, some of the traits from New York. I still have that.
You gotta love
Definitely.
Americans. Very forward,
Yeah.
and I think um, I had a similar conversation with my last guest, Michael Donko,
Mm.
one of my previous guests, and we were talking about how reserved, you know, the British culture is compared to
Mm-hmm.
other European cultures. How they're more forward, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously he took time out in Switzerland, you know,
Mm-hmm.
doing financial advising or what have you. And yeah, I mean, America is it's a crazy place. I mean, New York is more fast paced than London, and you know, you have to kind of you know, give them credit. They do, you know, they do, you know, do they you know, they do exactly what, you know, you see in the movies and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
the dangerous thing is where things can get violent. I think it's more dangerous in that sense, America. But New York, there's no place like it, man.
I
It's
mean,
just
it
not my cup
depends.
of tea.
It depends where you are. I mean, we've UBS, where I was working for, we've got offices in New Jersey, Connecticut, and different bits of
Yeah.
New York. So it's different. And a lot of the time with work, studying, we're in Manhattan, which is very touristy. So,
Hmm.
you know, I'm still hearing British accents every day. They look at me like
Yeah.
I'm crazy, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're British." I'm
I
like,
know,
"Yeah,
right?
sure."
They do it all
And
the time.
I'm like, "So are you? Look, here's my passport." Oh my God, you live here? I'm like, "Yeah, I live here. This is my office." Oh my God, and they
I
stare
know
at
they go
you.
crazy. They go
Yeah, but
crazy for the British accent.
you can always spot a foreign person in New York because they walk really slow. That's how you can tell. They don't
Mm,
need to say
that's
anything. And the
interesting.
British people love a map. They're always doing this. I was like, you definitely ain't from here.
Oh gosh. Oh, that
Yeah.
was quite interesting. So you says there's more like a mini apprentice. Would you say it's a bit like, do you know the British the Duke of Edinburgh program? Do you think is that kind of got that kind of prestige to it?
Yeah, because it's hard to get in, 100%.
Mm,
And it's the
and then,
alumni. It's alumni. So even me coming back, interviewing, UBS have been a part of Mountbatten for years. The companies might have changed now, but it
mhm.
helps. The hiring manager, oh, Mountbattens, they know what they're like. It's just a conveyor belt. So it's like a
Wow.
graduate scheme of a graduate scheme because it's so few. Like I'm the only, I'm used to like standing out anyway. So I'm the only, I
Nice.
think one of two people from Manchester on the whole thing. And I'm from Sierra Leone, right? I know it's a Ghanaian
Perfect.
podcast, but it's still West Coast, all that stuff.
Doesn't matter.
So
Shout out to
yeah,
Sierra Leone and stuff.
yeah, so I'm the only one there. There might have been other Sierra Leone people there,
Yeah.
but it takes before or after, but there's not a lot of us.
Shout out
So
to
you're
my
right.
Sierra Leoneans.
It does add prestige, and then when hiring managers do hear about that, even though it's
Mm.
over 10 years ago, it's still
Mhm.
relevant, and it will always be relevant. And our topic about getting a job is you have to stand out and be different to everybody else. Um,
Yeah.
but Mountbatten doesn't happen in, because I went into NatWest because I knew I wanted to do banking. I knew I didn't want to do HR. So I
Mhm.
walked into NatWest branch, had my suit on, had my CV, asked for the hiring manager. And I'm just saying, I really want to get into banking. I've just finished my placement year at Bosch. I'll go back to uni in September. Is there any issues that you have and any projects I can work on? And I'll work for free. So automatically, the managers thought, okay, this is good. He's come prepared. He's organized. He knows what he's talking about. And he has experience. And he said he worked for free. Yeah. So he's like, yeah, fine. We've got this project that I don't know anything about and I don't want to do it. And back then it was called the deposit box. So this is what, 2008. So if you go into a retail branch,
call that a project? Did they really call that a project? I mean, where you just put the envelopes through the
no, not that. The project was to find out how to utilize it. That's what the project was for me, not the product. The product's fine, but back then, asking people to put cash in an envelope and just put it down a hole, people are uncomfortable doing that. So he's saying every branch has to utilize it. He doesn't want to deal with it. He's got stuff to do. So Adrian, you just deal with it. So what I do was I look at all the advertising and marketing that they had, change that, realize, did people understand what the product was? Yes, no. Do they want to use it? Yes, no. How old are they? What time is it? Things like that. And I went into all the other branches to see how they were using the same product. Now, at the time, HSBC had it, the same product, but in the ATM, which we have now, or cash machine. See how I'm switching. NatWest didn't have that at the time. So what I figured out was from a month of asking the customers what they thought the product, would they use it. The peak time to use the deposit box slip is the first of the month when people have majority of their bills to pay and credit cards to pay, and the end of the month. So that means the manager doesn't have to go to people every day, try and get customers to use it. Certain demographic of people, from the evidence that I did, older people less likely to use it. Younger people in a rush, they don't really care as much. Male, female, like I really broke it down to him, did a PowerPoint presentation. And he was like, wow, you got all this stuff. I'm like, yeah. So he liked that, and it helped. And then after that, I got work experience at Barclays Corporate as well. So before I went back to your point about me trying to be different and planning, before I go back to uni and turn 22, I've already got Bosch, NatWest, and Barclays on my CV before I graduated.
Before you graduate. So this was work experience. So when did this work experience take place? Was it in the summer? Was it off? Was it during the holidays?
So the placement was a whole year working full time. So I did a 4-year degree because I didn't want to graduate and they say, well, we can't hire you, got no experience, and vice versa. So that's why I planned.
So the placement year. So that was a whole year of different work experience.
Yeah, working in HR department. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So with the kind of title of the show, like trying to get a job and being different, even though I'm 18, I knew I wanted to do a 4-year degree. I knew I wanted to do business because I was into actually geography and biology. And there's nothing wrong with that. I was thinking if I get out, like everything is business, doesn't matter what it is. NHS, football, everything is a business. So I might as well do business studies. Even though I wasn't studying at A-level, and having the year in industry, that whole placement year, that helps as well. Because employees want to have someone who has everything they're looking for and they don't really have to train as much. Or if they want to train you, that you're open-minded and you think outside the box. But I wanted to have every single box ticked. So that's why
so that you can maximize your chances to get in.
Yeah, and it gets to the point when you have more experience and you go for interviews. And like, don't get me wrong, I've had interviews, I haven't got them or whatever. Contracting is up and it's down. But if they look through the list, I'm like, okay, so-and-so hired you. So like, why shouldn't we? Right. So my attitude is once you get the biggest one, everything else is easy.
Okay. So flipping the script. So, when employers, when employees aren't hiring you or when they're not taking you on, okay, you know what? I'm going to go and do unpaid work to prove that I am valuable to you, and then come back and apply for your role. And then the other thing that you were just saying is, rather than them thinking that they're after a certain kind of person, you're flipping the script and be like, okay, cool. You know what? I'm going to be all of these things that they want to, that they're looking for, and even more, so that they can't say no to me. They have to take me on. So is that kind of your thought process, like psychologically, like?
And research, I feel not that many people do it, and the level of detail that I go into. So again, the NatWest example, that wasn't a job interview. That was just me walking off the street because I knew I wanted to get into banking. And then it's like, well, might as well ask the manager where you want to work. At the time, NatWest was the biggest retail bank in the UK. I was like, okay, cool. Barclays the best commercial bank, corporate bank. Cool, done that. And then from doing retail bank, I was like, well, all the money is investment bank and be a trader. I'm like, okay, cool, fine. I'll apply for that. Like, that's my thought process.
You're just ticking off. So basically, when we introduced you onto the show, I mentioned all these different kind of financial banking institutions. So essentially, your journey has been going from retail banking to corporate banking and then to wealth management, investment banking. Yeah,
investment. Yeah, and all three.
Was that the plan? Was that the plan to get to that to that stage, or did you naturally just gravitate towards investment banking?
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time at Barclays corporate in Manchester before I went back to uni, and I like that culture. So the plan was to be a relationship director, whereby you have a portfolio of clients that you look after. And I wanted to I always wanted to get to property, didn't know how. So the plan was be a relationship director at Barclays, be a manager of real estate. So I'll understand how real estate works, property works, and I understand how banking finance works, and it's a pretty decent salary, and I should be there for a while. Do that for 10 years and then leave and get into property. Now, that didn't happen step by step, but I still did the 10 years, but I feel happy with my journey because I've been in so many different organizations and countries and stuff doing it than staying there doing one job for 10 years and that's it. So I'm actually happy at the way that it's actually turned out, and I'm actually doing what I want. I'm in property at the same time.
Perfect. And we'll get to property, shortly. One thing I wanted to ask you, Adrian, is it's weird to say my own name. One thing I wanted to ask you, Adrian, is that I noticed in your kind of CV, obviously I saw your LinkedIn probably earlier on this week, and I noticed that you're on average you are at a job for 1.5 years. So was it a plan for you to move horizontally rather than just to stay at one company and then to move up vertically up the ladder and then leave and then get into the next stage of what you wanted to do career-wise or business-wise?
Good question. That was not the plan. Contracting and being self-employed is very volatile. So you can be in a project. Doing
the whole way through?
Not the whole way through. The last 4 is contracting.
The last 4 contracting.
Okay, so going backwards, some of the jobs were perm, but I've been made redundant, right? So generally you think redundancy is older people and they've been there for a while, and now it doesn't matter anyone, any age, especially if COVID happening, getting redundant.
Anyone can get it.
Again, my thinking was, okay, I've been made redundant, which isn't great. I would rather have a little bit more control, so I want to get self-employed. So keeping in theme with the whole podcast of how to get a job and be different, when I was working at RBS in Reading, I wanted to move to London. I chose RBS in Reading first because I thought London was too expensive. Like, let me get some experience and money and then move. That was strategic. And then I was applying for jobs, and it's difficult. It's end of the year, November, December, things are closed, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm sick of this, chasing recruitment consultants and doing CVs and cover letters. I'm tired of that. So I went on LinkedIn. I was really interested in fintech at the time. And the big major players were Funding Circle, Zopa, I think RateSetter. They were the big ones. Excuse me. And I wanted to get into one of those. Again, long process. And then I just emailed someone. So I messaged someone on LinkedIn who used to work at RBS like me. He said he's in a fintech company and it's good. They just started up. There's literally 4 of them. So
they're more peer-to-peer lending, though.
Correct. Yeah, correct. That's what it was. But this was corporate peer-to-peer. And he said, well, we don't have any jobs. I can't do anything, but you seem really keen and you seem like a good guy. You can speak to my boss. And I set something up. I was like, fine, I'll speak to him. Came down. It's basically me talking about research of how the industry is going to go and all the other stuff. I'm really passionate. And my boss is like, you know more about this industry than I do. And you're really passionate. And I've come to him with something. So this is the theme with the podcast, that you have to go bring in something. You don't just, I haven't just gone, give me a job because I need one. It's different. It's like, I'm of value and this is why I'm good. And then I go to them, right? So after speaking to my boss, he's like, we don't have a job, but because you're so passionate, why we'll just create one for you.
Look at that.
So that's how I got to London on that one. Just speak to people. If you're good, you're passionate, you can get it. And then I got made redundant in that role, which is fine. And then I fell into contracting. It wasn't a plan. I just fell into it.
Just fell into it.
I got the job with Accenture Consulting. They're working on an HSBC project. So the beauty of that is I got one of the biggest consulting firms in the world and one of the biggest banks in the world at the same time on the CV.
Nice.
And the irony is the financial crash of 2008, 2009, which was because of mortgage brokers and banks in America giving loans to people who weren't creditworthy. That's why it would collapse. My project
Really? Is that how it kind of affected? Is this how it affected the whole world, or?
Yeah. So what happened with securitization is where you have bad debt, i.e., people that can't pay, and they put those loans with good debt, and it got muddled so much people couldn't see, and they were buying it, and it was a stack of cards. I think there's a film called The Big Short, I think, which is quite good, and that details it. So the project with HSBC was the UK and the FCA, Financial Conduct Authority, said, we can't have this happening ever again, where we have normal people's money mixed with investment banking, which is gambling. So they separated it. So what they had to do was all the investment banks in the UK that I think hold over 25 billion in deposits had to separate the retail, so me and you, and small businesses' money from the investment bank. So they separated it, which is difficult because as HSBC, you've got hundreds of thousands of customers around the world, and now you have to split them into two different banks. So that was the project that I worked on, ringing CEOs, FDs, and saying, we're having this restructure in the bank, and your sort code account number is going to change, and all your products going to change. So we had a massive deadline to get everyone migrated either to the Ringfence bank, which is in Birmingham. So most people probably wouldn't even realize that. If you go to HSBC retail bank now, it will say HSBC UK. So that's the retail commercial. Yeah.
Okay.
Bank.
So if it doesn't say HSBC UK, then it's not retail.
No, it'd probably be the investment bank. And then all the other major banks did it as well. So I think Berkeley, Santander, and Lloyds, they all went through the same process. And the reason why there was so much pressure on that project was if it had failed, i.e. IT didn't work, the whole world would have known about it. So there was more pressure on IT because we had to press a button and switch everything over, right? On the fly, because people can't stop working or can't stop banking. So you got to say to clients, you've got payroll next week, but we're going to migrate all your accounts and stuff like that. And you got to tell everyone that your sort code account number changing. So it's stressful. It's difficult. So my portfolio, I had clients in China, Poland, America, Russia, everywhere, split everywhere. So different time zones, everything. And then, you got to persuade someone who's never heard of you before to do what you say, especially with regards to their money. So that's good experience in itself.
Skills come in. That's when your sales skills come in. Which is what I wanted to say. So all of this happened on the back of the financial crash and the financial turmoil that was taking place in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, and then obviously the bank and the FCA said, okay, what measures can we put in place so that doesn't happen? So now, if investment banks do something crazy, normal people's money, retail clients, his money is protected. It's separate.
Okay. That's quite interesting. It's quite interesting you raise up normal people's money and then investors' money. What's your I'm going to take it a slightly different conversation. What's your thoughts on the GameStop stuff that happened in America? I'm sure you're aware of it.
I'm aware of it, but at this moment in time, I'm not investing because I don't feel I know enough about it. Same thing with Bitcoin. I mean, I've got stuff, but I would only do something I fully understand. And because I'm focusing all my time now on life insurance and property, once I have a little bit of time, then I will look at it. But I feel with investing, you have to be on the board with it. You've got to look at it and watch it. And investment to me is you can gain more than what you've put in, but there's a risk you can lose all of it. Are you comfortable with that? Are you responsible with it? So I see people online all the time and saying Bitcoin and things like that is at X amount of thousand. But I mean, how much have you put in? You don't need to buy the whole Bitcoin. And two, it's gonna go down at some point. Do you know when and where? There's always it's a risk, which is fine. Property is a risk and a gamble. Everything is a risk and a gamble. But I'd rather know more about it before I do that. So I don't do any of that stuff. But at the minute, at some point I will, but right now, not.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, it is volatile, and they're all assets at the end of the day where wealth can be created. So more power to you, wanting to know about it properly before you go into it. And I think it's only fair that you focus on one or two things before moving on to, a shiny object, Bitcoin, can be seen in that sense. Okay. And what would you explain to the audience that a ring fence is? It a ring fence bank?
Ringfence bank, yeah.
Ring fence bank, yeah. What's that term? Explain that term to us.
So ring fence means it's completely separate from the investment bank. So they ring fenced it.
Okay.
They've safeguarded it, right? They've
Okay.
safeguarded it. Well, previously
Mm,
everything was
okay.
just the same. So you're using deposits and doing all this mad stuff. So
Okay.
again, I think the film is called The Big Short. I think that's the name
The
of
Big
it. That
Short.
was really
Okay.
interesting, and then understanding what they were doing and how they were allowed to do it. Even in the UK, you could self-certify a mortgage. So what that means is I can go to the bank and say, I earn £1 million a year. The bank will be like, okay, fine, and I'll give you money for that. So even in the UK, it was madness. So now when you get a property, you have all these questions about how much you earn, proof of earnings, proof of address is a lot more stringent now than
Yeah.
it was before. Because before there were people that did that and didn't have the money. For
Hmm.
example, if you said you had £1 million, no, you self-certify, it's fine. 20, 30 years ago in London, you're laughing now, right? Because of capital
True.
appreciation. You can't
True.
do that.
Very true.
You can't self-certify a mortgage anymore, and rightfully so.
Okay. Self-certification of a mortgage. Explain that.
So that just means there's a form, excuse me, there's a form you fill in. You'll say,
Okay.
you know what, I earn £500,000, and the bank will be like, okay,
Okay.
fine, and then they'll give
All
you that
right.
money. Yeah,
Yeah, because it was a lot easier to get mortgages back in the day, isn't it?
yeah.
But now
So
it's
now
obviously
it's more difficult, especially if you're
it's
self-employed as well.
yeah, like they want to see like monthly income, like predictable income coming in every.
Yeah. Mhm.
Maybe that's when buying property from a company could come in, maybe, or still.
It can, but again, you have to know what you're doing. You've got to have a good
Yeah.
accountant. So I should be doing a podcast next month with my
Mm.
property accountancy firm. So they deal
Wow.
with that, where they help investors put their property in either SPVs, special purpose vehicles, limit companies,
Yeah.
because it's more tax efficient. So again, I'll do
More
a
tax
podcast on
efficient.
that because again,
Okay.
there's changes, and the thing with anything, things always change.
Mm.
So property changes. There's now double stamp duty if you want to buy a second property. There's all these other things, and you have to constantly be learning about it.
Hmm.
And so I think some people think, oh, it's fine, I'm okay, or this or that, or my mortgage is this. But you always need to look at stuff and analyze it. Even if you analyze it, we have a call with my job with life insurance, and everything's fine. Cool. At least you know you're good. But things could change. You might have had a pay rise, you might have got married, you might have a kid. So things change and the figures change.
Mm.
Um, but it's just getting people to realize that it's a little bit difficult.
That's again sales. It's sales, then, isn't it? That's when that comes into play. Okay. So don't worry, guys. All of the references, the links we mentioned, it will be in the soundofaccra.com in the show notes. So all of these key points and links we mentioned, we'll have it all linked in the show notes for you. Okay, Adrian. So let's keep this moving. This is a pretty good conversation we're having. So great. So obviously, you've done the program, the Mountbatten program. You've gone through all of these banks. You've even created your own job. You've done free work. You've done everything. You've done contracting, all of that. And then you got to the
Yeah.
end of the roads of your banking
Okay.
career, banking finance career. What was the last role again? And then tell us
Yeah.
what happened after that, and then the
Good
transition
question.
into insurance. Yeah.
Good question. So I was working for a smaller consultancy firm in the city called Tory Global. So they're not the size of
Hmm.
Deloitte or Accenture. And I've been doing the contracting job for about 4 years. And again, it's great to have all that experience and be in all these different environments because they're all different but the
Mm,
same. But I was like,
yeah.
I really want to get into property. Like that was the plan all along, right? And even with my own place that I bought in my 20s, fully understanding it And similar to you, I've done property training. I was like, okay, I want to be involved in property. This is the end goal anyway, right? So I've done my 10 years. And again, so beginning of 2020, I took time out. I was like, let me just chill out. And then obviously COVID happened in March, and that kind of put stuff on pause, which is fine. So I did more property things. I'd already set up my own property company the year before. So I spent more time on that. And then I was thinking, okay, people aren't necessarily buying property at the moment due to COVID, which is fine. How can I get into property and what bit of it? So I think I was just thinking out loud. I'm thinking, okay, there's a lot of money in mortgages. And to get into property, you're utilizing mortgages. So for example, if the property is £100,000, you might put £25,000 down and the bank will give you 75,000 as a loan, as an example, right? It's all about leverage. So I'm like, okay, this is a $1 trillion industry. How can I speak to property investors and learn about property, but not necessarily do it? And then I think I was researching, and then life insurance came in to my head. And I was like, okay, fine. Did a little bit more research, spoke to people that have been doing it. And then I was on LinkedIn, and then I reached out to Joel White, who's the MD of Ramsay and White mortgage brokers. And I was like, Joel, this is my background, blah, blah, blah. I want to get into property. I don't want to be a mortgage broker, but I feel there's a gap in the market if I just focus on life insurance. I was like,
so
do you have any
email? Just a LinkedIn email, or did you connect with him? Did you send
Oh,
a message?
sorry. No, I rang him.
You rang him. So you just found his mobile number like that? Like you just rang him up?
On LinkedIn, sometimes they've got the mobile number.
Okay. Yeah, true. Okay. So you've definitely been a salesperson in the past then. That prospect.
I missed that. I've done recruitment. I've missed that.
Oh, you've done recruitment. Okay, this guy.
So
many
I've done
tricks.
everything. I've done everything.
You've done everything. You've done it all. I love it.
So with
Okay,
the
so
theme
you
of
rang up the MD. That's a bold move. I love that.
I don't think so, because again, I've done recruitment with HR. You're bypassing all those people that just say no. You're bypassing all of them.
Gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Did you have to get through a gatekeeper when you ringing up the MD, or was it mobile? You just go straight to his mobile? Nice.
And the good thing is, he said they'd been thinking about it the year before, but they hadn't really done anything about it. I was like, you know what? If I come in, all your clients that you've got at the moment and previously, I'll just speak to them about protecting the mortgage, right? And similar to you, where we'd go to property events and property training. The whole premise behind property is to have a legacy to pass on, right?
True.
That's the main thing. You want to pass it to your kids, your grandkids, all that. So life insurance goes hand in hand with that. So you could have a multi-million-pound property portfolio, and if unfortunately you were to pass away, like that's gonna, if you don't have a will, it's gonna have to go through probate. It's very long, and there's going to be inheritance tax. And again, a lot of people don't know that. So at the minute, if you have over £325,000 worth of assets, it gets taxed at 40%. Now, people might think 325,000 is a lot, but property, and especially property in London, is going to go over that. So, you're working so hard to get this money, you're doing all this property stuff. If you don't have life insurance in a will also have to say who it goes to. And secondly, put it in trust. So what a trust is, let's say you have life insurance of £100,000. If we put that into trust for you, you get to say who gets the money. It is 100% tax-free because it's held out of your estate. So you're not paying 40% inheritance tax. If it's over that 325,000 threshold, 650 if you're a couple, right? So if someone passes away, sometimes people don't leave wills. It's a very long process to try and get the money to the rightful person. So for example, you might have £20,000 worth of credit card debt. That 20,000 credit card debt will get paid first before it goes to your estate. And then you've got the 40% inheritance tax. So it could be everything that you've worked for. It might not, someone might not get any, and it might be for the wrong person because you've not stated it. So again, it's sometimes maybe not a great topic, but you have to discuss it. And the younger that you do it, and as a family, the better. So even this call got pushed back. I was speaking to my uncle about it. Right. I'm that, and I spoke to you before, I'm redoing my life insurance, my critical illness as well, because it's important.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And I mean, I think it makes more sense because I was thinking at first, how does life insurance relate to property, but when you think about it, it's more of when you're passing over. If you own property and you want to pass it on to, you know, people in the family, how are you going to secure those assets the best possible way? And obviously, life insurance is one efficient way, tax efficient, or money saving efficient way of cost effective
I
way
mean,
of doing it, right?
again, people don't really think about it, which is fine, and they're busy and all this other stuff. But I feel like this: if not, Boris is going to get it. So
Nobody
people's
wants Boris to
attitude,
get anything right now because they're in lockdown.
yeah, people's attitude change, and also with COVID, we're more, um, we appreciate life a lot more, right? With everything that's going on
Mm,
this whole year. But
mm.
it's funny that I speak to clients and COVID and all this other stuff. They still,
You've moved into life insurance a good time, you know. It's caught up with me. It's actually caught up with me now. Why life insurance is, I think, is going to be great for you because obviously COVID, you know, people are passing. I mean, we could talk about if that insurance includes COVID. We could talk about
mm.
that because that could be interesting, and then also it can cover you with regards to property. That's very
But
interesting.
also depending on your age, health,
Mm,
and weight and height, it can be a lot cheaper than you think. And
mm,
insurance, the way it works is the cheaper you take it out, the better it is. So if you take life insurance out at 18, 20, it's going to be cheap. So I think I just ran a quote the other day for someone, I think about 150,000 is £5 a month. Right?
mm.
You have insurance for your phone, you have it for your car because it's a legal requirement, but you don't have it on yourself. And
Yeah,
who is the biggest asset? Because if you don't work or you're sick or you die, none of those other things happen. And it's
true.
it's weird that I'm having Zoom calls because I can't meet clients face to face due to COVID. The kids are in the call, which is fine. So I see all the kids that are 1, 2, they're in the call. It's all fine, it's all open.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
parents saying, yeah, 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 it's really important. But then, they don't get back to me, they don't fill in the form. I'm like, we've been on the phone for 4 hours about your
yeah,
kids. You understand it, but you're not signed the form. If anything happens, you
yeah.
know what I mean? Everything happens to you. And also if you have pre-existing medical conditions as well, like the older you are, the more
Mm,
likely you are to get it. So the point is, the younger you are, get it. I got life insurance because my mom and dad kept on banging on about it. And I didn't
really?
really fully understand it. Again, when you're in your 20s and you buy, it's so expensive. You have so many bills, you don't want to have another one. But no
Yeah,
one explains it. They're like, get life insurance, you got to get it. And I'm like,
yeah,
they don't explain. Sometimes African parents do not explain so very well. They just tell you to do
yeah.
it and expect you to do it.
They just told you to do
Uh,
something. Yeah,
and I was like, fine, do it. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I don't have married. Not married at the minute. I don't have kids. But the whole property is multi generational, right? So
yeah.
if anything happens, my sibling has it,
True,
right? And it's going to
true.
be once I'm going to put it in a trust, so it's tax efficient. And we have the
Yeah,
conversation. We've had the conversations like, if anything happens to me, and they'll start crying, and I'm like, don't get sad. Like it's gonna happen. It's not great, but
yeah,
have it now. And this is the
yeah.
will. This is where it is. This is who is on it, and this is
Okay.
what's gonna happen. There's clear instructions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because there's so many situations, especially in our community, where there's death, there's a GoFundMe, there's a this, there's a that, and I'm like,
Hmm.
this can't keep happening, and we
Yeah.
can't have the next generation being more disadvantaged because of the decisions that the generation before made. It's
Okay.
really straightforward process. It takes 2 seconds, and you need to have the conversation with everyone. Like it's not just your immediate ones, like your cousins, your first cousins, your little ones. And again, there's a misconception that you have to be married, have kids, have a property, to have life insurance. That's not true. If you're in the
Mm.
case where you might have a niece or nephew who's small, and you're like, if anything happens to me, I want my niece or nephew to have it. That's the biggest gift you can do. The mad thing with life insurance, you can make a 6-figure, 7-figure amount and not earn it. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? So what how I said the first call we had before I was saying opposite is opposite. Obviously, I've not really mentioned that, I've toned it down. But when you talk about crypto, it's so volatile and you don't know what's
Yeah.
going to happen. It could be zero or whatever. There could be a new cryptocurrency. Life insurance is that it's been here for loads of years. It's not going anywhere. They say it's recession
True.
proof because the only certainty in life is unfortunately people have to pass away. So
Hmm.
that's guaranteed. But you doing the
Yeah.
stock market, probably with other things, that's not guaranteed. So that's
True.
another reason why I'm into it. Because
Hmm.
again, my attitude at 18 was banking is forever. I'm going to probably do mortgages, wait for NatWest RBS, and that was it.
Hmm.
And being in there, retail banking is now completely changed. Everything is online. You know, kids these days are going to have a bank account and never go into physical branch. They just do it on the phone. That's it.
Okay.
That industry has changed. So with your point before about why I've changed to this is different.
I'm with you. So let's just add some bit of context here, guys. So obviously, Adrian has a property business called Benjamin and Co. What's Benjamin and Co?
That's correct. Yeah.
Benjamin and Cole. Okay, cool. I don't know where the Cole comes from. I don't know if he's related to Andy Cole. I really don't know. I don't know where that comes from. Shout out to Andy Cole. I met him once in Manchester, actually.
How many times I've been called that growing up in Manchester? Any black kid
Andy
United?
Cole.
Like, you and son. The amount of times I had to say yeah.
I see a little bit of resemblance, but not much. There's a little bit of resemblance. But yeah, so yeah, guys, back to what I was saying before. So Adrian has a company called Benjamin and Co. Property Business, and he currently works with he's currently doing life insurance at another company, Ramsay and White. But what we're saying here is that life insurance can be a cost-effective way of protecting your assets, especially when it comes to property. So, and he's passionate about property, so he's managed to make both of these industries work together for him, and it's just a great way for him to kind of be in both worlds, which is, I think that's just pretty amazing, man.
Yeah, and like you said before, it's just me having time out thinking and stuff kind of hitting at the right time. Because similar to you, when I was working in the city, I'd finish work 8, 9 o'clock, go to a property networking event, get home 12, 1, wake up 5, 6. It's tiring. Yeah, and anytime you have any business, your first major concern is, who are my customers? How am I going to get to them? What product? What? Not even the product or the pricing, right? That's the most difficult bit. So with this, I'm majority speaking to property investors anyway, because it's a mortgage firm.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning about property, where they've invested, why they've done it, the price of it, all these different strategies anyway. But I'm doing something completely different. So for me, again, with the point before about adding value, being different, I now have all these property people coming to me because it's a free consultation call. Again, I'm not charging you. They just want to learn. They want to learn. Fine. So I'm learning about property, and I don't have to necessarily go to all the network events, do all these other things. And similar to you, Adrian, when you go to networking events, you're trying to speak to so many different people. You can tell when people don't want to speak to you and they're looking to speak to someone else. It's long. Yeah, it's long. Zoom is annoying now because there's cats and kids in the background and whatever, or internet cuts out. It's long. But this is like cool because now I'm learning about property and I'm adding value and it's a different product. Yeah. Right? So it's a whole killing two birds at once.
Killing two birds with a stone, indeed. It is. Are you finding it harder to consult and to close people on online rather than being face to face in person? We are in the COVID world at the moment.
No, good question. I actually prefer face to face because, again, traditionally with life insurance, there's a lot of face to face meetings and multiple. I've come in not doing any of that. Right? If I've got a client in, I don't know, Bristol or whatever, drive all the way back, and it's you can lose a lot of time. It's even any sales role that was field based, right? There's a lot of being stuck in traffic, all this other stuff, service stations, sandwiches. I'm more efficient, right? I'll get up at 6, work out, study for 2 hours, and start at 9, and I might finish at 8. So I actually prefer it this way. I get the calls in. I can see the customer face to face if they've got any issues. I can share my screen. If I take notes, I've got doctor's handwriting. I can't read my own notes. It's not good. I see a client, I can't even read what I've put. So everything online is actually better for me. I think it's a lot quicker and efficient.
Definitely. It saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of energy, can save you money moving around. It's, it's a triple threat and I love it. Perfect. Okay. So how long you been there for now? Ramsay and White so far?
Good question. About under 2 months.
Okay.
But
so
I don't feel new. Yeah, but the transition isn't different. So again, investment banking, you've got front office, middle office, back office. Corporate banking, you've got BDM, sales guys, RM managers, and then credit. If you play football, you've got a striker, midfield, defense. Same thing in business. You've got different things. So you've got those. Business is all the same. You've got those three. So it wasn't a transition for me. So again, I might be client facing. There might be a case manager, which they call in insurance, someone that manages the clients. It might chase paperwork or make sure the clients are okay. And we have annual reviews. And then you've got compliance, back office, which checked everything that we do. So why did I recommend this product? What's my reason behind it? Is it correct for the client? What is their budget? They check everything at the back. So consulting and banking has helped for this. It's not really been a big transition.
Okay. So, I mean, there's a lot of similarities to what you've been doing in banking and finance, because all three of them, what all of these industries have in common is the huge compliance and the huge, factor of being careful in what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it can hit you back and hard, like with huge fines, huge penalties if you're not compliant, if you're, breaking all of these different things,
Yeah, so we have a completely separate department that checks everything that we do.
Yeah. So, I mean, as well as they're all lucrative businesses, at the same time, not being compliant, breaking, some of these regulations, going against some of the regulations that can hit you back hard. So that's the downside to being in these industries. But I mean, again, what I love is that the way you came into, you approached the Ramsay and White MD, and you you did it before, and you've done it again in a different way, more in a modern day way. You disrupted a industry, you disrupted a company, and you've created your own job when the employer isn't hiring you, right? You actually approached the employer. You didn't just approach the employer, you approached the freaking MD, and you got yourself a job by creating a job, by actually approaching him with something that actually makes sense.
Yeah. And the funny thing is as well, like if you start a new job or especially a sales role, the hardest thing is getting clients. Where am I going to get them from? Again, you'll do network and eventually do all this other stuff. But, I get Joel's clients.
That's it, because it's a different product. It's a whole new product to sell his existing clients to, right?
Yeah. And, Joel's busy. He's doing all these complicated mortgages and bridging. He doesn't have time to do life insurance. It's not efficient.
Yeah.
But because I explained it to him, he knew it. He was thinking about it. But with any business, you're busy doing all those other things. And I came with the proposition. He's like, that makes sense. So from day one, I have clients I can speak to immediately. I don't have to go hunting for it. That will happen anyway. But yeah, exactly. You going in, and he said to me, you need to do, there's a qualification called CMAP, which with regard to mortgages. He said, come back once you've done the first bit. And I didn't speak to him for about 6 weeks, and then screenshot it, and then that was it. So again, from being, different, disruptive, I don't have the whole 1 stage, 2nd stage, 3rd stage, 4th stage email. I cut all that out.
Bypassed it all. You just went straight to the source. And I think this is something that has been, sorry to interrupt you there, Adrian. I think I just want to get this a point to the audience. So if you guys have been following this conversation, you've noticed that Adrian's been doing the same thing right from his early 20s. He's gone straight to the source, didn't apply for a job in NatWest, went straight to the manager. Hey, I'll work for free. Get me in. He did the same thing for another company. I can't remember what company that was. And then again,
I got paid for that. I got a check for that one. I got a check for that one though.
You got a check for that one?
That was a real job.
Did you?
That was work experience. That work experience. I wanted to do something before I went back to uni because I was bored.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, well, this is what I want to do it now. So the point of the conversation is the things that I did at 21 have helped me now in my early 30s. It's the same thing. And the beauty with how the world is going in social media is everyone likes, everyone comments. Everyone does that.
That's it.
I'm doing an old school thing of talking to people on the phone.
Being different.
Right? Yeah. Because if you're applying for a job, you've got to go through the whole process.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people doing that. So get out from the noise, guys. Make sure you get away from the noise.
It's like going to the club. Cut the queue, man.
Cut the queue, man. Hello, Mr. Bouncer.
Cut the queue.
Hello, Mr. Bouncer. Here's some banana cake. I know that's one of your things.
That's
that's one of your things that we had a conversation about that Adrian likes. But that's another story, as you mentioned. But yeah, fantastic. I really like your approach and your philosophy and the way you go about doing business and the way you go about doing work. I think is a very disruptive way. Is a very disruptive mindset that we need to have in a day and age where there's a lot of uncertainty, and yet even when there are loads of jobs, people still aren't hiring. And they're still doing this first stage, second stage, third stage interview stuff. But then again, this is the Sound of Crowd podcast. We focus on entrepreneurs and creatives, and obviously Adrian is an entrepreneur as well as a professional, who works, and obviously he's got a property business. Do you want to tell us a bit more about Benjamin Cole and what you do in the property side of things outside of the life insurance stuff?
Yeah, so I formed the company, I think, a year ago. And what the company does is we help investors find property. So this actually happened organically and by accident. So I had a friend who was looking to buy in London, but as you both know, London's very, very expensive. So I just said as a joke, yo, Manchester's cheaper. You can probably buy something half the price, as a joke, right?
Yeah.
So she goes back to her parents like, oh, that's a good idea. Because the whole point was going to be a buy to let anyway. She wasn't going to live in the property. It was just to be on the property ladder and get income coming in, right? If anything happened to the parents, they were scared if they passed away, she'd be stuck. So that's how it happened. Yeah. So I said, okay, cool. I'm from Manchester. Let's go back home. Did about 10 viewings one day, tiring, but we went through the whole area, put an offer in. So not only did I help them get a property that they didn't know about, an area they had no knowledge of, managed to get a massive discount. So their budget was $250. You could still get something in London for $250. It might not be everyone's dream place, but you can still get something. They got it for $120.
Damn. How do you remember how that happened?
Yeah, I was there, innit? It's me.
So did you negotiate down? Did you negotiate?
Yeah, because if it was high, you've got to pay stamp duty. There was no stamp duty on it. So my point is, I've gone to family and friend, and they've saved $130 in cash. 130,000. I've saved them already.
Oh right. Okay. So this is all cash.
The budget was $250. Right.
Okay.
And they weren't spending $250,000, which is fine. Yeah. In today's money, but they got it for $120.
Okay. So they pay cash.
Actually, they didn't want to have a mortgage.
Okay. Cool. Obviously, looking back, you're thinking,
No, I said,
but they didn't want a mortgage, so fair enough.
Yeah, the girl didn't want to, which is fine. Which is fair. Not the client, because this is before I even set my company.
Yeah, this is before. The
funny thing was the way her mother was crying, like, "Oh my God, you've saved us so much money. We were scared." And then she was, "Oh, you should do this as a full-time job." I was just like, not a big deal. I didn't think about it. Advising people on money and being in property, and the irony is I'm doing life insurance. However, it's still linked to property from that real life experience. And then only now we find out that you can charge people for all this stuff. Before I was doing it for free. Yeah. So if anyone can buy my and wants me to do it, then feel free. But it wasn't that. It was just the fact that we've got a family that are happy that their daughter's got something that they thought they couldn't have, and they saved more than half their budget. Right. That's the beauty of it. So that money is going to go from the parents obviously paid for it. The daughter has it. It's in her name, and then her kids have it, and then it goes on and on and on and on.
Are you still in touch with those people?
Yeah, I'm still in touch with them.
So they're probably just shut up now, isn't Crazy equity in property now.
Manchester's going through massive transformation, like all major cities. Okay, but it's cheaper up north because it's not been touched. London, everywhere you look, is being gentrified. So that's going to squeeze prices. But somewhere that's never been touched, and it's a house, and it's got a big space that will continue to go up. But then also now having that experience of doing a real life property deal, even though I didn't even realize I was doing one, now that's going to be added to the life insurance experience that I do every day, and understanding what products is good and things like that. Yeah. So that's why I see both of them going hand in hand. Because there's no point, like I said, there's no point having properties if you're going to pass and then no one in your family or friends or even a charity or whatever benefits. I mean, that's how I am. There's no point.
Yeah.
And
I
again,
mean,
if you don't do it, Boris is going to get it. So, if that doesn't motivate people to do it, I don't know what will.
yeah. Again, there's a lot of reminiscent content to my conversation with Michael Donkel. Again, we talked about generational wealth. We talked about, doing things effectively, managing your money, your assets effectively and things like that, and investing effectively. So, I mean, it's quite interesting that we're having this similar conversation here. Feels like I'm doing a money mindset month, continued, but I mean, these are important, discussions that we need to have, especially the beginning of a year and getting towards the end of a financial year, such a time of uncertainty. People are really now just holding on to their money, and then they're now looking at ways to make more money or to invest or make the money, work, bring back even more money. So I think these are important conversations that we need to have, in this time and age. Okay,
And
thank you,
I
Adrian.
think with COVID, because people aren't busy out and about on holiday, they now have time to actually think about stuff. So again, is it sad that people are obviously passing away and being furloughed or laid off? It's terrible, but
Yeah.
majority of people aren't affected. Like they're saving money from travel and holiday and eating
True.
out all the time. So now they think, okay,
True.
I've got more money. What do I want to do? So,
Yeah.
and especially with things like Clubhouse and things like that and social media, I think it is positive, and especially the younger generation as well of being more money conscious, and thinking about it and not just leaving it. And like we
True.
said, the younger you are to do anything, the better it is. Doesn't matter what it is. But if when it comes to
Mm.
property, once you've got it, you've got it, right? As long as you obviously make the payments, you're on top of it, you make the payments and stuff. But and
That's it.
insurance, the younger you are, the better it is. And also, the longer you leave it with regards to mortgages, it can be more expensive. So, for example, if you're like in your late 50s, it might be more difficult for you to buy a property than if you were younger. So sometimes people think, "Oh, I'm young. I've got time." Like if you live in London, you don't have time, right? It's expensive already.
Yeah. So just get on it
Um,
now while you can.
yeah, if you can, yeah.
Yeah. Or look outside. Look in Manchester. Get
Cheaper.
yourself a discount property. Yeah, it's cheaper. Outside London, properties are certainly cheaper. Okay, and so yeah, guys. So I mean, if you are looking for a property, I mean, Adrian, you specialize in off-plan property, or do you still take orders for? Do you take orders for non-off-plan properties
Good
sourcing?
question. It was predominantly off plan. So with your point about just being different, you do sourcing, everyone's kind of doing the same thing. I was like, well, if I go straight to the developer, I don't have to worry about finding stock.
True, because
So
they got all
again,
this.
in April, when I had more time for my property company, I just rang Berkeley Homes up. I think I checked yesterday. I think they're worth like 5.3 billion or something like that. But
Crazy.
when I'm on the phone to her, and I just said, I should sell your properties for you. I was like, I live here. I've been here for 4 years. The area's improving. No one knows it better than me because they don't live here. They're commuting somewhere else. I live here. And then yeah, so even on the other podcast, my mentors like, how are you just going to ring up Berkeley Homes and just get work with them? I was like, as long as you have value and you know what you're doing, you can do it. So
You
the
can do
whole
it.
thing
Yeah.
with the job I've got now, they're all the same. Right?
Hmm.
I don't feel any pressure
Yeah.
making that call because I know what I can do and what I've done, and two, how I can help add value.
Yeah.
Right? That's the main thing. So I don't want after this podcast people just cold call CEOs and stuff, right? Because they have enough of that. Yeah,
Don't
they
try
have
this at
enough.
home, guys.
You have to really think about what you're going to say because again, you have one shot with that person, and these people are busy.
Mm,
So if they're going to take a call, especially on their mobile, you really
yeah.
have to get to the point, be clear, and add value immediately to get what you want. It can't just be like, I need a job because everyone does that. They'll just say, go speak to HR.
True. Is
That's
that
the,
something that
everyone's,
comes to you? Sorry,
yeah,
I'll let
that's
you
something that's
finish.
common for people if they want to necessarily fob you off, is like, speak to HR. That's it. That's conversation's finished.
I know, right? These gatekeepers. So the way you just, you have, I mean, you clearly have this talent because again, that's probably the third or fourth example
Yeah,
that we
cool.
brought up in this conversation where you've actually you've approached the company, approached the business, and you've created some kind of job or business around that. and you've done it again with Berkeley Homes. You clearly have some kind of talent where you're able to just kind of go straight to the source and create some kind of opportunity for yourself, especially when you have value, especially when you can fit into that picture.
I wouldn't say it's a talent. I just feel, again, British culture, no one wants to do that.
Nope. So you think so? Back
I
to
don't
kind
think
of
so.
going back to the
Anyone can do it. I wouldn't even say it's an
anyone can do
American
it.
thing, because I was doing this before I went to New York, right?
America. Okay,
I
cool.
went to the French.
So,
So it's got nothing to do with America or banking. It's just, I want to do it. I just ask. Like that. I don't think about anything else. If they say no, it's a no. It's not a big deal, and then learn from it. So anyone can do it, because I know right now it's difficult for a lot of people. Applying for jobs is boring. It's time consuming.
it
If you
is.
know you're that good and you can find out who that person is on social media or whatever, and you get the number, that's to me the quickest and best way.
Best way.
Right? Why are
Yeah.
you waiting for an interview and there's going to be loads of other people and all these stages? You
True.
can bypass all that stuff, and I've done it like 3 times.
True. Why not?
You
Why
have
not?
nothing. You have nothing to lose.
You got nothing to lose. I like that. Again, it's just being able to handle rejections, being able to have the confidence and the courage to just go out and do that. The British culture is quite reserved. If you're listening outside of the UK, the British culture is quite reserved. So when you have people like Adrian doing what they do, you really have an advantage, an unfair advantage, because not a lot of people are doing what he's doing. So, Adrian, what are your tips? Just again, any final tips to people, trying to creatively
Yeah.
find a job or creatively create some kind of business opportunity for themselves?
Okay. I'm going to go with the the job perspective. If someone wants to try the method that I've done and maybe isn't as confident, which is fine. So you might want to write things down. Like, these are the 5 reasons why I think I'm good at this role. And then look at the business. How can you help that business? Oh, okay, your competitor's doing X, Y, Z, or you've not done this. Don't don't just go asking for a job. I don't know if this quote is true or not. There's a saying that if someone breaks down and you're just asking for help, no one will help you. If you're trying to push your car by yourself, other people will come and push it. Right? You got to show that you're doing something. Don't just. It's not a begging bowl, right? People are busy; they ain't got time. So you've got to say something that sparks their interest. Like, okay, this person can really help. Oh, they've taken their initiative. All managers want everyone to have initiative,
True.
right? And you're showing the traits that you're going to have bring into the company already.
Wow, that's a good way of thinking.
And even without that, so another example, there's another company I work for, which I got headhunted. I'm not going to say the name, and
That's fine.
I did loads of research. I did about 20 hours. Right, I got really involved. I'm the type of person that will look on Google and go for every link.
20 hours. My
I'm one of
goodness.
them annoying people
Dedication.
that will do that, because I have one shot for this job.
True.
And my friend is like, "Are you not coming out this Saturday?" I'm like, "No, I've got this interview on
I love
Thursday."
that. I
He's
love
like,
that, man.
"Thursday?" I'm like, "Yeah." And like, "You're
Yeah.
going to stay on the Saturday and do it?" I'm like, "Yeah." So
You're anomaly.
I must have been on page like 7 of links of stuff.
Yeah.
And if anyone, again, another industry, payments, right? Payments is so big, right? And there's a thing called a 4-party transaction model. I'm not going to go through it and bore people, but I
We'll have the
explained
links
the
in the
whole
show
process.
notes.
I explained the whole process in the interview. I was like, "Yeah, the merchant does this, and you get paid, and it goes here, it goes there, and all the other stuff. There's actually 7 stages, it's not actually 4." And my boss is looking at me like I'm crazy. She's like, "You really did all that research?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Wow, that's incredible." She's like, "People that work here don't even know that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm different." And then she said something, and I was like, I looked her in the face, and I'm like, "Yeah, I want the job that bad." And the crazy thing is with that, the mad thing was with that job,
Love
I
that.
think it was like 240% pay rise anyway, right? So I got headhunted. But because of that, making the effort,
240% pay rise.
yeah,
Crazy, man.
right?
You
And
are going to the moon, man.
that's what contracting is, right?
Okay.
So just for me doing that research and being
Yeah.
over the top, I got
Yeah.
a increase in the day rate.
Mad.
So I'm not
No,
going to tell you
really.
what it is, but
No, you don't have that's down to
but
you.
the thing is that the increase in the day rate was so ridiculous to me that
Yeah.
it was just like, it was, that's all it took. That's all it took. So now from earning this, it's gone to earning this from just researching.
Yeah.
And then you take that figure and you take it to the next person and what happened.
Impressive. Very, very impressive. And I think, Adrian, just having this conversation, I think, be it property, be it life insurance, what have you, I think anybody that's listening to this conversation would want to have you in there on their side, man, to have someone like you on their side. I mean, there's not a lot of people like you out there who are willing to go the extra mile to do that, to do all of this kind of stuff. Honestly, mate, I mean, I applaud you. I honestly applaud you for.
But I don't know. I look at the world differently. I'm just like,
It's good.
yeah, I just want to do it. I don't really say like, oh, it's this company, I got to work for them. It kind of just happened. And you said, why did I stop banking? It's like, I work for the biggest firm. There's nothing else for me to really do. I've done it now. This is something completely different.
Yeah, I like that. I really, really like that. Wow, Adrian, it's really good having you on board on the Sound of Accra. As we close up the show,
oh, I have one about Ghana. All right, before you go, you said connections are gone. I haven't tried peanut stew yet. I haven't, which is amazing. So I need to try that. If there's any Ghanaian people that are gonna give me some peanut stew, you're gonna have all my socials in the feed. So let me know. I need to try it when I haven't tried it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's an announcement, guys. For those of you cook in Katia Quine or peanut soup, holla at Adrian, not me. I've had peanut soup already. This Adrian needs some peanut soup. Please holler at him, ladies or gentlemen. Please holler at him, and he will bring you some lovely jollof rice or banana bread or plantain, which are dishes that he's already familiar with. Okay, so that's his informal announcement. Formal announcements, Adrian. Did you have any final thoughts or announcements that you wanted to make before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, if anyone needs help with it, reach out, because I get it. It might be daunting reaching out to someone you've not spoken to before. It's not natural. It is awkward, but what's the risk reward, right? That's how I look at it. Like, you want it or not? Like,
just do it. Just do it. I mean, I'm going from my mind saying, do I need to rename this the title of this episode, because it was mad inspirational, man. Shout out to you, man. Honestly, there's not a lot of people like you, and I think that's the thing, and that's why I'm so impressed. Yeah, so guys, so in terms of connecting with Adrian, I know you have your property business, which is Benjamin and Cole. We'll have the Facebook and the Instagram, your website linked in the show notes on the soundofcrowd.com/Adrian Benjamin. Okay. And then also your LinkedIn, Adrian Benjamin, right? Okay. And we'll have that in the show notes as well. If there's any other links, social media links, Adrian's going to share those with me, and we'll have them in the links. Sorry, on the show notes, and then we'll have some of his other podcasts that he's been on the show notes, so you guys can check that out, because he's such an amazing guy. Adrian, thank you for inspiring us with some fire. If the listeners have heard the same thing that I've heard, then they should really be inspired and fired up that they can get any job that they want, that they can do any business that they want, as long as they're seeing the opportunity and they're not afraid to take risks, and they're willing to pull up their pants and get on that phone, or do something that's different to what the majority of the world is doing.
And with the point as well, with the 3 jobs and the Berkeley thing that I got, I didn't have experience in that field though, right? So the fintech job in London, didn't have experience in that. Berkeley, they didn't even ask, what have you done? And then life insurance, I don't have life insurance experience.
Killed it.
So it's not even about that.
Killed
so
it.
I know some people say, oh, well, you've got experience, you've got that. I'm like, no, that's not why I got hired.
So this is the crazy thing. So on one end of the scale, you have someone has all the experience in the world, right? Which is what they want. Perfect. That's just what the normal person wants. And then you have, on the other side of the scales, you have someone that doesn't necessarily have experience or a lot of experience, but what they have is the skills to fill it, or the value to complement the opportunity that they've spotted to solve, or they've seen a problem, they've seen an opportunity that's not been spotted, and they've got that value to then, add to that opportunity, which is that's the best way I'm trying to explain it.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's age range. It's from like 21 to early 30. So again, people might say, oh, well, it's work experience. It's this. It's like, no, I did it 2 months ago. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what industry you are. If you're going to someone where you want to work for them or with them or whatever, and you have a compelling case, you can add value, people will work with you.
I love it.
And another thing, if it wasn't phoning someone out of the blue, another thing that's different, which I'll tell people, I'd write someone a letter, right? If you write someone a handwritten letter, it might be a bit weird with GDPR or whatever. You might want to do it to the work address. Everyone is so used to sending emails or being on Zoom. No one gets letters anymore, a handwritten one. Every time I go to my post box, it's a bill. It's always a bill, right? Nothing positive. If someone writes me a letter, like, I'm going to actually open its address to me and read it. It's different. So if you want to be extra different, send them a letter. And then on the phone, it's a conversation on the phone as well. Like, did you get the letter? I said, oh, actually, I got it. That it's handwritten. No one does that. Because again, that hiring manager might be from that generation where they appreciate it more.
Yeah. And you know what who you remind me of, Adrian? You remind me of a few people. So you get the people that you've seen, who are standing outside the tube station saying, I need a job, I've got a CV, I need a job. Okay, that's one way of doing something different. And then you have people such as, what's his name? The guy who's knocking on doors. Asking
Reggie.
That's it, Reggie. Yeah. Shout out to my Ghanaian guy, Reggie. All right. Knocking on doors. Crane, again, that's another way of creating the job. He knocked on doors and then he knocked on this golden opportunity. And obviously he's befriended this multi-millionaire, what have you. Now he's got a good kind of career going on his life. I'll have the link in the show notes for that story if you guys don't know.
Great. When Reggie did that, it was great. And the thing at the tube station we seen with his grads, it became so normal.
Yeah.
People
it became normal, yeah. But Reggie was different though.
And again, I don't want to do that. Nothing wrong. All methods are fine because you want to get what you want to get to. But I'm not walking around in the cold. I'm not
knocking on doors.
No,
Each to their own. Calling. I'd rather call. Yeah, and get rejected. Yeah, from a company.
So even with the Berkeley thing, David was saying, "Oh, did you go to there?" I was like, "No, I was in Manchester when I did it." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was on the phone.
You just call them on the phone. Damn. Who did you speak to actually? I mean, not the person, but I mean, what was it? Department? Was it like a management?
Just a normal management department. I was like, I need to speak to so and so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
you just use your skills just to get through the certain person you wanted to speak to.
Well, it's not a lie, is it?
It's not a lie. No, it's not a lie. I mean, you just use your sales recruitment skills to get.
The process might sound a bit difficult to people that might not have done it, where I'm searching in this and that. But you go on the website, this is the regional director, this is who it is, call them.
Yeah, that's it. So you just called it. So you called a regional director, just like that.
Yeah, the contact details on the website. They expect people to call. That's how I look at it.
That is it. The contact is on the website.
It's on a public setting. There is no LinkedIn and scrolling and paying. Like, I don't need to do any of that stuff. This is the thing. It's so there and accessible that
we're forgetting that.
Like, how did you get my number? Like, it's on your website.
I love it, man. It's just classic prospecting, classic cold calling, what have you. It's just going back to basics. And I think another lesson here is that just go back to basics. Forget social media.
With that word as well, because again, I've done recruitment. I hate the word cold calling. I hate that. And it's got a connotation that's difficult and it's bad, it's time consuming, whatever. Or you're forced to do things that I don't want to do. When I'm calling someone about something that I want and how I can advise to them, that to me is not a cold call.
Yeah, it's different.
Right? It's not a cold call. I don't want to be cliche about it.
Because you've done your research. You had about research them before, and you actually know what you're going to say. That's going to add value. It's not going to just bash them.
The funny thing is, when I rang Joel, my MD, that conversation was like an hour and a half.
Damn.
Cold. Even when I spoke to you the other week, that was like a 2-hour conversation.
Yeah, that was a 2-hour conversation. You got me.
Spoke to you in my life. I can add value when I help you, vice versa. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like keep doing it.
You killed it. Honestly, you killed it.
The key thing is, when I keep laboring the point, but you gotta add value For example, I asked you to be on the podcast. You might have said no. Could have said, then I said, it's that. But like, oh, he's got something of value to say. It's different. It's on the same lines what we're doing. It fits in with what you're doing. It makes sense.
Makes sense,
right?
yeah.
And if I say, oh, let's just chat about football, I'm like, what's that got to do with the podcast? Adding value. That's the thing. How can you add value?
That's very true, man. That's very true. And yeah, Adrian, I value you. I value your time. I'm aware of the time that's gone past, and this is going to be a great episode. This is a great episode if you're listening now. Once again, guys, head over to thesoundofcrowd.com/Adrian Benjamin, and you will have all the show notes from today's episode. Adrian, you've been an amazing guest. I think season 2 has definitely, been taken to another level, having guests like you, more kind of finance, banking, wealth, investing type guests. I mean, it's really a breath of fresh air to have. So thank you for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. All right, guys. So speak to you in the next one. Take care. Stay blessed. Sound of a Crowd podcast. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. If you're listening on the podcast platforms, be sure to leave us a review. Thank you so much for listening to The Sound of a Crowd. See you next time. Bye-bye.